The following is a Lidy Robinson production. Stay tuned next for 10 Times Better Health and Wealth Wisdom radio broadcast Breakthrough with Dr. Stan Harris. And we are going to go live to the phone line. Here is Dr. Stan Harris. The mic is yours.
Well, hello, everybody. It's a privilege and a pleasure, a treat and a treasure, a joy beyond measure. You want to make sure you text somebody, call somebody, do a Facebook post, because, my friend, we're going to show you 10 times better health, wealth, and wisdom. And so we've got a special guest, also Lidy who we will be sharing with you some powerful principles. But before I do that, I first want to lay a biblical foundation while I give you time to call people, to text people, have them dial in the number, have them go on the radio program. But you need to understand this. But in Daniel chapter number 1, most people know verse 8 where it says, "But Daniel purposed in his heart that he would not defile himself with the portion of the king's meat, nor with the wine which he drank. Therefore he requested of the prince of the eunuchs that he might not defile himself." And so this is Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. And so all of them are together. And so Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, which we call Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, which S.M. Lockridge, funniest thing I ever heard, he talked about when he was going through college, and he said his name is S.M. Lockridge. They said, well, what's S.M. stand for? And they said Shadrach, Meshach. They said, well, whatever happened to Abednego? And he said, well, I used to use it, but they thought I kept saying Shadrach, Meshach, and a bad Negro. So he said he stopped doing that. But anyway, so we got these three Hebrew boys along with Daniel, and so they negotiated. And by the way, you need to learn the art of negotiation. And so here's what he said, because Melzar said, listen, if you don't eat the king's meat, the king could have my head. And so here's what he said, verse number 12 of Daniel chapter 1. Prove thy servants, I beseech thee, 10 days. He said, just give us 10 days. And he said, let us give us pulse to eat and water to drink. In other words, just give us 10 days and let us eat pulse, which is anything sown or grown from the earth, and then give us water to drink. And then he said, let our countenance be looked upon. To make a long story short, after that, they said, okay, go ahead. We see what you're doing is working. And so in verse number 20, just to get to where we need to be, it says, in all matters of wisdom and understanding that the king inquired of them, he found them 10 times better than all the magicians and astrologers that were in all his realm. And so, my friend, that's where I got the ministry title, 10 times better, health, wealth, and wisdom. So we're going to help you to have a 10 times better health, wealth, and wisdom breakthrough. So my question is, would you like to be healthier, wealthier, wiser, or all three? Now, you probably said all three. So the next question is, would you like to do all three sooner or later? And hopefully you said sooner. So then the question is, how soon is soon to you? And if you said right now, you're at the right place at the right time. I hope you have the right frame of mind, because again, my friend, you're going to learn some principles that will change your life forever. For too long, the church has been overzealous about divine healing, and we've neglected the principles of divine health. You can't just hold on to a promise of divine healing, but you need to be willing to practice principles of divine health. We will show you during this broadcast how to practically live out 3 John 2. Beloved, I wish above all things that thou mayest prosper and live in health, even as thy soul prosper. We'll show you how to practically live out 1 Thessalonians 5:23. I pray God your whole spirit and soul and body be preserved blameless. And so, Lidy, I want you to come on out. Oh, my goodness, folks, you better have something to write with and write on. This lady has a heart as big as Texas. She loves people. She's very knowledgeable, and she can break things down in very simplistic terms to help you get your breakthrough. So, Lidy, welcome, and thank you for joining us.
Well, it is a delight to be with you all this evening, and I have to say that as a result of being invited, that I want to give you some substance and some conversations that may help you understand that the underlying cause of all things, and you might say, if I can get to the core to restore, and I can take a despair to repair, then that's what is going to be my anointing. Well, I can tell you that my journey began 37 years ago because I had a baby that was not well at her 9-month checkup. Well, that turned into the fact that I realized that her problem was not her problem. It was my problem because of my health and my situation. So you might be hearing this like, oh my gosh, maybe if my family, my children are not well, maybe it leads back to my health and my foundation, and where did that come from? So I want you to maybe think through this as I share some thoughts with you this evening about when we realize that each and every one of us are made up of 100 trillion cells. And the cells they have a lifespan. And the lifespan of a cell is different. Like by way of a skin cell, 21 days. And we look at that skin cells, bone cells, blood cells, brain cells, everything is just cells. And when the cells become dehydrated, they become deficient of the nutrients to become superior cells. And subsequently, you've got the makings of weak cells and inferior cells. And then it goes from deficiencies to dysfunction. And dysfunction leads to dis-ease in your body. And then dis-ease turns into disease, a label. And then from there, we have, so-called a downward spiral to, that death downward spiral. So you can say, well, is there hope? Is there possibility? And I want to instill in you all this evening to have you understand that if you want ease, function, efficiency, we have to have hydration. And I'm not talking about drinking more water. So some people ask the question, I drink water. I drink a lot of water. And I said, well, let me help you understand something. That water is not what we're talking about. We're talking about hydration. See, when you drink water and it's not the right molecular structure and it doesn't have the proper bond angle and it doesn't have the proper ion exchange at the cellular water channel, and we're talking about cells. Cells have a brain called membrane, and the membrane is the gatekeeper. So it will allow the proper size and shape of all the molecular structures into the cell, into the intracellular nucleus of your cells. If it isn't, it won't allow it. So unabsorbed water and nutrients, which is your, called deficiencies, nutrients that are going to accumulate in your connective tissue. So in the connective tissue surrounding the cells on the outside. And that will cause swelling of the body and water retention in your feet and thighs and abdomen and kidneys and face and chin and eyes and arms. And then that may lead to considerable weight gain. And at the same time, the blood plasma and the lymphatic fluids become thickened. And then that becomes called congestion in your lymphatic vessels and your lymph nodes. And so dehydration affects all of your natural fluid in your bile and therefore promotes the formation of gallstones. So we're talking about, you may be starting to hear this kind of like downward spiral. Well, when people begin to hear this and they realize that they are just needing to start with the hydration process and literally put drops of water, of hydration drops in their water called distilled water, and now it has the proper bond angle. It changes that bond angle, and now you have hydration happening in the intracellular part of your cells. and it can cross that so-called cell membrane. The gatekeeper says, come on in. And so if water is the carrier, it delivers, gives the ride into the nucleus of the cell of all the nutrients. And so the cell that was deficient becomes hydrated from looking like a raisin to a grape, which is how it was in the beginning. And it starts to function. It takes on these nutrients. And here's the key piece. Think of it like the semi moves into the intercellular part of your cells. It unloads the goods, and because you have what is called distilled water with a negative charge, and that gets into the nucleus of the cell, it unloads the goods. It still has the charge of negative charge. It attracts the positive charge, which is poison and toxins inside of the cell. So it attracts, the negative attracts the positive and escorts it out and eliminates. So here's what just happened. You have increased assimilation, increased elimination, cleansing, because of hydration. And you just began your journey of avoiding self-destruction because the cells have the ability to hold the water, to be able to, say, retain the hydration, not retention of water around the outside to create the swelling. You have the water in the inside of the cell, which actually is the game changer. Dr. Stan, back to you.
Wow. Well, and let me say this also, Lidy, for those, our listeners. If in our text that we read, Daniel said, my religion, my belief, my relationship, my God, it affects every area of my life, even what I eat and what I drink. And so what I want you to know, folks, is you've just heard some powerful information that will help you understand, well, there's some people that love God with all their heart, but because they've not practiced that dedication like Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, because of things that they put in their body temple, which again, a lot of we don't know. I mean, we've just done what our parents did and what their parents did, and we just did what we saw on television. And, that's why I declared war a few weeks ago. I declared war on three things: deceit, dehydration, and death. Folks, let me tell you something. There is an international Christian-based buyers club, and that you can get these drops. It's the only place I know you can get these hydrating drops that literally can help turn your health around. I'm speaking in North Carolina today, Lidy, and a gentleman walked up to me, and he hugged me, and he thanked me for sharing with him how to get these hydration drops. He said, Dr. Breakthrough, not only am I feeling better, and my mind is clear and sharp, but I have dropped 5 pounds in the last 8 days or so. I was like, wow. He said, that's all I'm doing is drinking the water with the hydration drops, which again, the hydration drops, 6 to 12 drops will treat a gallon of distilled water, and 198 gallons could be treated if you use only 6 drops with the 2-ounce bottle. Now, if you want to know, where can you get them from? Well, there's a website I want to give you. It's shopfreemart.com/CJoyRadio. So again, www.shopfreemart.com/C, the letter C, Joy Radio, and you can sign up for free, get a free account, and if you want to buy the drops, they're only $48 plus shipping, and I'm telling you, my friend, I'm getting testimonies. Lidy, share with us, because I have several people, women that have problems with incontinence, and they say they can barely drink water, but all of a sudden, when it comes to this water that's been treated with these hydration drops, now that it's been microclustered, they don't have the problem with leakage. Why? What makes that so?
Well, I want to just share with you. I think I just addressed a part of that when I said think about raisins versus grapes. Now think about the fact that you and I are all made up of cells. If they are dehydrated, you have gaps between the cells. They don't actually come together like they should. So your organs don't function. You've got leaky guts, and you've got leaky, so-called colons, and you've got issues in the tissue. So all of this happens as a result of that. When you start drinking water and it gets into the nucleus of the cell, they plump back up. Now they hold that, and the bladder starts to function the way it was supposed to, and not, releasing when it shouldn't be releasing. So it's your body working at its peak optimum performance. So, and there are people that are worried about drinking water because they say that I was advised not to drink too much water, and I have my kidneys not functioning. Well, your kidneys are dehydrated. That's the first piece of the equation. If you are hydrated, they don't know what hydration is about. They only know water. So changing the bond angle is the key piece of this equation, with increasing what is called the ion exchange at that cell membrane, the brain, the gatekeeper. And when that delivers past that, you have functionality. So the key piece of the equation is getting the delivery into the nucleus of the cell. And when that happens, it takes the toxins out of the cell and aborts and escorts them out. You have increased assimilation, elimination happening. You got harmony, synergy. You got the dance happening within you. And women will say, I no longer have incontinence. I didn't change my pad in the last 6 hours. And men will call and say, listen, is it possible to have a constant stream without stopping and going or not even going? And that's happened within the last 12 hours. I just took on some of this hydration drops in my water, distilled water. How is that possible? And all of a sudden, mental acuity. It goes from skin, looking younger, get rid of wrinkles, having vitality, and cleanse and detoxifies the cells, increases your oxygen and hydration to the level of hydrogen to your cells. We're talking about changing. That's a game changer when it comes to inferior cells to superior cells. We're talking about your body, cells becoming independent and not codependent, and all clustered together in your blood. Clustering cells is thick, sticky blood. That is a serious problem, and we can go on and on. So I just want you to know that you might even find that it's going to be reducing of food cravings. You're going to have increased metabolism. Your body's going to take different shape. That's part of this conversation, and it's so simple. Back to you.
Well, I had a pastor call me, Dr. Haywood Robinson from Maryland. He's like, Doc, man, I don't understand. He said, why am I not hungry all the time like I used to be? Why am I requiring less sleep, but I feel like I have more energy? He said, the only thing I know I'm doing differently are those hydration drops. Well, first of all, Scripture says in Psalm 103, who healeth all thy diseases. Now, how does he do that? He does that through the immune system when the immune system is working properly. Lydia, a lot of folks understand that you can't even have disease, dis-ease in your body unless your body is acidic. But what we didn't know, what folks failed to let us know, was one of the main things that leads to your body being acidic is when you get dehydrated. And so we're talking about the fountain, the foundation of it all. And we're talking about literally these hydration drops that can make a huge difference. Now, the beauty of this is simply this. I told you I declared war on three things: dehydration, deception, dehydration, and debt. Those all three are tied together. I am looking for winners and warriors, not wimps and whiners. And so listen carefully. I was deceived like many of you. Now listen, I take every day We bought an expensive alkaline machine. And every day I would drink half my body weight in ounces. I'd read the powerful book by Dr. Batman Gullish. And I assumed that I was hydrated because I was drinking all this water. But there's a huge difference between hydration and drinking water. I'll have Lidy explain in just a moment. But we got just about 5 minutes left to the show. If you didn't text somebody, call somebody, get them on the show, there's just a few moments left. They need to get on. But let me tell you this. Once I joined this international Christian-based buyers club where literally, you've heard of Sam's Club and Costco's. Well, what about if we eliminated the membership price and you could join for free? And what about if there was no such thing as buying a whole bunch of stuff 2 and 3 months worth of in advance you can't use? What if there's no such thing as an authorship? None of that. All you need to do, my friend, is order when you want to. So again, it's www.shop, S-H-O-P, free, F-R-E-E, mart, M-A-R-T, shopfreemart.com/C Joy Radio. So go there, set up your free account, and then you can click on shop and you can order some of those drops if you like. Now listen carefully. If you click on the About Us page, you'll see a picture of John Austin, the CEO, who's an ordained minister and a second-degree black belt. Thomas Green, the CTO, Chief Technical Officer. Me, Dr. Stan Harris, known as Dr. Breakthrough, as the Chief Breakthrough Trainer. Listen, we would love to be able to assist and help you. So I'm going to give you one other resource and have Lidy just in a couple minutes just knock this thing in the head. But listen, before I got involved with Shop Free Mart, Lidy, I was paying for my water. Now, in just 28 days of being part of Shop Free Mart, I literally have earned thousands and thousands of dollars for being hydrated and simply sharing it with my friends. Did you get that? That's a breakthrough. I went from paying for water to now getting paid to be hydrated and just sharing it with my friends. Not selling, just sharing and having them thank me for it. So, Lidy, the deception. People think they're drinking water. They forgot about the coffee they drink. They forgot about the soda, but they think they're drinking enough water. What's the difference between drinking water and being hydrated?
Dr. Sam, I think that that's the key piece of the equation. So we're looking at H2O, a molecular structure, and that's hydrogen, 2 bonds, and oxygen, right? So when you begin to look at an ion exchange and what happens with an increasing of oxygen-hydrogen, you actually are changing a molecular structure. You can go and even Google the 4th phase of water, and it's H3O2. So we start taking a look at an increase of an oxygen molecule and an increase of a hydrogen molecule. And I know what Dr. Otto Warburg said, and he was Nobel Prize in 1931. He said that cancer is actually a result of 2 things. It's very simple, he said. He said it is acidosis and hypoxia. And so there's a clue here. Acidosis is a lack of potential hydrogen, a lack of potential hydrogen in your cells. Hypoxia is a lack of oxygen. And if we have the hydrogen and the oxygen where it needs to be, these abnormal cells cannot replicate in our body. This is not a small conversation. This is a huge conversation, and this is all research. This is science telling us. I'm going to say, as we know that there had to be scientific breakthroughs, and here's what we know today. And as you're going to read and see about the 4th phase of water, they're saying, you know what, here's a simple structure called the water molecule H2O, and today we are realizing that there's more to the rest of the story.
Wow.
And we're grateful.
Wow. Wow. Well, let me say this. I know time's coming to a close, and Lidy, this is incredible. We got to come back next Saturday. We got to bring people back. But listen carefully. I need to make sure I clarify something. If you were invited on this radio show by someone who's already part of Shop Free Mart, I apologize. Make sure you get back to them, get their particular link. Now, if you just tuned in to See Joy Radio, then you go to that website. But if somebody invited you, because we have several partners and we're building a conglomerate of different people that love God and love people. So if somebody invited you who's already a member, then please get back with them, get their link. They'll show you how to set up your own free account. And if you want to order these hydration drops, they'll show you how. But if you want to go a step further, do like I do and actually get paid. I mean, it's one thing to be able to buy them at a decent price, but I actually learned how to get paid to be hydrated, and that to me is the supreme. So again, get back to whoever invited you, and you can get their link with Shop Free Mart and get started. Or if you just tuned in on the show, go to shopfreemart.com/See Joy Radio. And Lidy, you have just given us so much powerful information. I'm going to have you give a call to action. And everybody, I need you to come back next Saturday at this same time, but don't come alone. I need you to bring some people. Listen, we have ministers of the gospel who won't be preaching much longer if they don't get this information. We have Sunday school teachers. We have people that could potentially have heart attacks and stroke and other things, my friends, simply because they didn't know this information. Please get the information. Lidy, give us a call to action.
Thank you, Dr. Stan. And I want to say for all those that you are out there, remember, it doesn't matter the age. So we had a grandbaby in the hospital because of dehydration. We have grandparents in the hospital because of dehydration. We got teens in the hospital because of dehydration. And so this is a major issue. And dehydration is the first step to the next breakdown. And so you right now have what is called a breakthrough in the midst of a breakdown. Get back in touch with the person that invited you to this call and love on them and extend to them your free referral link so that they can be blessed and given high favor to actually get back in full harmony and live in the power of your peak potential. Blessings to you all, and good night.
This has been 10 times better health, wealth, and wisdom breakthrough radio broadcast with Dr. Stan Harris, which has come to you live, sponsored by its host and advertiser. This is See Joy Networks, Inc. Do you know Jesus?